Hello everyone. On behalf of BIMLABS Engineering Services Private Limited, I welcome you to this AutoCAD online training session. BIMLABS is an Autodesk authorized learning partner, and today's session will be handled by my name is Amal PV. I'm working as a technical engineer at BIMLABS Engineering Services Private Limited, and the following is my uh, mail ID. Today's agenda is to learn about the dynamic block which we do on AutoCAD. This will be done or taught to you by two part of videos, and this is the first part of dynamic block. In order to do a dynamic block, I have already drawn a plan view of a door. So we will be applying dynamic block to this particular drawing. So we use this option called dynamic block where we need to change any sort of dimension or create a parametric kind of a drawing in AutoCAD. Instead of making it as a simple block, while converting it into a dynamic block will help us to provide it with separate option. So let us look into that. Initially, as normal, what we do is that we will select the objects and will convert it into a block using the command B. Once you see this option, you can provide it with a specific name for which you want your block to be known as. Then you have to select a particular base point, and this base point will be the point which we use to insert it later. And you can already see that you will be familiar with this already be familiar with this block definition window since you have gone through some other videos which is also provided by BIMLabs. And in order to go into dynamic block, you should check this option which is called open in block editor. So once that's enabled, you will get into a new window which is known for block editor, and it is in this area that we create a dynamic block. So let's say if you consider a door, what we mostly do is that we might want to increase the width of the door depending on your plan. So our entrance door will be having a particular width, and if you go to any interior walls, or I mean interior doors, or let's say a door for your toilet, then the size will be comparatively less. So in that scenario, you might require to draw it over and over again. So in order to avoid that, we will be using this dynamic block. Here you can see that there is several options available here based on mainly actions, parameters, sets, and constraints. So using a combination of these options, we will be able to change our block. So initially our requirement is to increase the width or the opening of a door. So here the constraint is that this, let's say this is my frame of the door. So there won't be any change on this particular frame if I only want to increase the opening width of the door. But the position of this has to be changed. Also, if you consider the shutter of the door, the length of the shutter will also get changed according to this width. And also this arc has to be changed so that it will be connected with this shutter as well as the frame. So in order to do this, first we have to mention which parameter we have to consider. So go to this parameters and choose the option called linear. So once you go to that option, you have to specify which linear parameter is your constraint. So I'm choosing this 2 points so that it represents the opening width of the door. So once you are in, you can see that there are two grip points for this particular parameter, but usually we only change it from one side. So in order to change the number of grips, you have to go to properties palette, which is not visible here. That's why I'm going to the command PR. Once that's there, you have to select this dimension option, then go to this miscellaneous settings, and you can see there is an option called number of grips. So simply change it to 1. You can see that there is only one grip points available. So once that's done, okay, I'm just closing this properties palette. So after that, you have to provide with different actions. So I'm going here, you can see that there are several actions here. So when you compare this, I have drawn this particular door. You can see that my grid lines inside this frame is hidden. That's because I have drawn a whiteboard frame here, and you can simply access this whiteboard frame by entering the command wi. It is simply drawn so that you will not require to delete or trim the walls which come in between your frames. So that's why you use this whiteboard frame, and once it's drawn you can simply hide this frame by going to the um, other option called whiteboard frame and changing the parameter value to 0. So this this particular step is usually done before converting it into block. So anyways, so in order to convert it into, I mean, in order to change any sort of applying any sort of changes, we go to this actions tab, and here you can see an option called scale, stretch, move, and everything. So first of all, I will be stretching this particular portion. So I'll be using this stretch, and my object, I mean my door or the particular portion which I am going to specify has to be stretched in accordance with this parameter. So I'm selecting this one, and the parameter point should be this grip point, and then I have to specify the stretch frame. So I'm choosing this. So uh, make sure your entire frame is inside this frame, I mean this particular dotted frame which represents the stretch frame, and only a portion of your wipeout frame will be inside it. So that if you go already know the normal stretching option, you will be able to know that if you select an object completely while doing the stretch, it will simply move. So in here we need to move this stretch, I mean this particular frame, and we have to stretch this wipeout frame. So that's why we have selected it like this, and once that's done, can press enter, can see that a particular stretch has been applied. So using this particular creating a block, there are portions where you may get confused or something. So in order to avoid that confusion, if you wish, you can go to this test block. So this option is there in order to check for any sort of errors that happened in your model. So once you are in test block, you can simply select your model and check for any sort of error. You can see that there is only one stretch point here. If I click it, see, currently I have only applied one particular stretch, and that stretch is for moving this frame and stretching this wipeout frame. So my purpose is complete here, so there is no problem with that. Let me close this test block. Similarly, you can apply stretch on your upper side, which is for your shutter. So I'm all again choosing this stretch option. So the parameter still stays the same, and also the parameter point is also the same. Once that's done, select the portion and select the object. So once that's done, you can see that there is two stretches here, and the problem with this stretch is that if you stretch it, tends to move towards your grip points. So in order to avoid that, we again go to our properties palette and select the second stretch, and here you can see that there is an option called overrides. In overrides, the angle offset is set as 0, but our particular shutter or the shutter is at an angle of 90. So you want to offset it to a 90 degree. Then only it will move accordingly. After doing that, if you wish, you can also again check it using the test block. After that, the only remaining part is to provide a particular um, change for your arc. So this arc is represented or drawn as a representation for the swing of this door. So here you want to apply the action called scale. Here also the parameter is same. Select this object and press enter. Now if you go to your test block and check for whether you have done everything correctly. Now you can see that everything is done properly and there is no errors in this. So that's it for the part 1 of dynamic block. We will do the rest in the next video.